always insist on protection, ladies. Cervical cancer is Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, a big welcome to you. This channel is all about health, beauty and lifestyle. So if you have not subscribed, do well to subscribe to this channel so that you get notified whenever I post new videos. So in today's video, I'll be talking about some of the diseases that affect young people in their 20s, especially females. A lot of us think that these diseases are for people in their 30s and 40s, not knowing that this can actually happen to people in their 20s, including teenagers and adolescents. So if you're interested, keep on watching. I'll be using the Zickel Even True Matte Foundation color 025 Mocha. A lot of people actually think that, oh, since I'm young, I'm in my 20s, nothing like, any disease can come to me. I'm going to talk about some of these diseases so that it will actually help you to know the things to look out for if you should see changes or abnormalities in your body as a lady, or if you see any changes in your menstrual cycle. One of the diseases I'll be talking about is cervical cancer. So don't think that if you don't have a lot of sexual partners, then cervical cancer is not for you. There are other risk factors that can actually cause cervical cancer, and one of those risk factors actually is having multiple sexual partners. If you have a lot of sexual partners, or you've had a lot of sexual partners in the past, then you might be at risk of having cervical cancer. Another risk factor of this cervical cancer is if your mom took a certain type of drug when she was pregnant with you to avoid miscarriage, then you might be at risk of having cervical cancer. For instance, if your mom took drugs containing this DES, then you might be at risk of having cervical cancer in future. So that is that. So another thing is having unprotected sex. If you have been having unprotected sex, especially at a young age, then you might be at risk of having cervical cancer. Yeah, so ladies, please tell your man, tell your partner to buy a CD. Always insist on protection, ladies. Cervical cancer is real. You can actually know if you have cervical cancer when you do a test known as the pap smear or the pap test. No, not this type of pap, actually, not the pap that you know. There's this test called the pap test. So you can actually use it to know if you have cervical cancer, because there's this virus that is known to cause cervical cancer known as the human papilloma virus, the HPV. This virus is known to cause cervical cancer, and men can have this virus without knowing. Men can have the human papilloma virus without knowing. So this is why it is very, very important that you use protection when you are at it. Make sure to use protection, or no matter how much you trust the person, because men can actually have this human papilloma virus without knowing, because it's hard to detect in men. The next disease that can actually affect ladies in their 20s is the candidiasis. So I'm filling in my left brows, after which I draw my right brows and then fill. I'll be using the Pro Concealer to conceal my brows. It actually presents as an itchy vagina or a colorful discharge, an abnormal discharge from the vagina. So one of the things that can actually cause this is wearing wet pants, or when you come out of the bathroom and you don't allow yourself to be dried, you don't allow your vulva to dry up before wearing your pants. It can actually upset the normal flora in your vagina. So wearing wet pants can actually cause candidiasis, or wearing highly scented pads or tampons, or if you're using scented soaps, scented bathing products, can actually upset the normal balance of living organisms in your vagina, because as ladies we already have healthy living organisms in our vagina, and they're just healthy and they don't cause any harm. But when there is an imbalance in the number of these organisms, when the amount of yeast increases, then there's going to be an imbalance and candidiasis result. You can actually prevent candidiasis by cleaning up your vagina after bathing to keep the place dried instead of wet, and also avoid wearing wet pants, and also go for cotton pants that are absorbent. Don't go for nylon pants that can make you sweat and are not absorbent. And if you don't want to go for cotton pants, if you prefer net pants because they're sexy and beautiful and all of that, then go for net pants with cotton crotch. The crotch is the part that faces your vagina. Don't go for the ones that are just nylon or net throughout. This one is looking more defined than this, so I'm just going to touch this one a bit. So I'm going to use my eye pencil to make it look, uniform. I'm just going to blend out the concealer because I've already used concealer to define this. So I'm going to just use this angled brush to blend it out. Blend out the concealer into my foundation. This is what my brows look like. I finished up off the camera. I'm not a professional makeup artist. This is just my DIY makeup at home. So this is not perfect, but it's okay for where I'm going to right now. So guys, let's continue with our discussion. So the number 3 abnormality that you should expect in your 20s is myoma, also known as fibroid. Myoma usually happens to people in their late 20s, 27, 28 and 30s and upwards. It can actually happen to people in their early 20s. It can happen to adolescents, because there was a case of a 12-year-old that was reported to have myoma.
I'll be using the darker shade of the Pro Concealer to do my contour because it's darker than the other colors I have in the contour palette. I'm going to contour right below my cheekbones and above my forehead and then blend.
So one of the risk factors of myoma is being nulliparous. Nulliparous is when you have not had any child, when you have not been pregnant before. The more pregnant you are, the lower the risk of you having myoma or having fibroids. So that is that. So myoma is common in people that have not had any child or have never been pregnant in their life. If you have been pregnant before, whether you had it or you lost it, then your risk of myoma is lower compared to someone that have never been pregnant before.
I'll be using the light shade in my contour palette to highlight under my eyes, nasal bone, my jaw and my forehead.
Another risk factor is deficiency in certain vitamins or nutrients like vitamin D. If you're lacking vitamin D in your diet, then you are at a big risk of having fibroids. So ladies, let's incorporate vegetables and fruits in our diet, especially when you're 25 and above. Let's eat vegetables and fruits more often to prevent diseases like this. A lot of ladies keep having fibroids on a daily basis So let's just try and avoid fibroids by eating fruits and vegetables, eating tomatoes. Tomatoes is very good in preventing tumors, because fibroids are actually tumors, but there are tumors that does not lead to cancer actually, but there are tumors. So if we keep eating things like fresh tomatoes a lot and things that contain vitamin D, then we might just lower our risk of having fibroids. If you already have fibroids, keep taking a lot of fruits and vegetables that are actually very helpful in shrinking some of these tumors. The next abnormality that ladies can experience in their 20s is cysts, especially ovarian cysts. There is also another type of cyst known as the PCOS, also known as the polycystic ovarian syndrome. Ovarian cysts are normal if your ovary fails to release an egg and the egg has already formed, and then your ovary fails to release it. The egg can just persist there and form a cyst, which is usually normal. But when it persists, you can go see your doctor. A cyst is just like a tumor containing fluid. And cysts usually present as pains in your lower abdominal region, in your pelvic region. If you keep having pains there, so you might just suspect a cyst. Another thing that can cause a more complicated type of ovarian cyst known as the PCOS is taking off a lot of contraceptives. So if you take excessive contraceptive pills, then you might be exposing yourself to polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a condition whereby there are lots of cysts. There are lots of cysts in your ovaries. This one is not just one cyst in case of ovarian cysts. In this case, you have multiple cysts. So this usually happens due to hormonal imbalance, especially when you're taking pills and the pills upset your normal cycle, then PCOS can result.
I'll then use my Zekel powder to blend everything together.
So in summary, ladies, if you observe any abnormal changes in your menstrual cycle or any abnormal changes in your body, go see a doctor. Another disease that can actually happen to ladies are STDs, and this can lead to pelvic inflammatory diseases known as PID. PIDs can actually cause infertility in ladies if it prolongs for a long time without being treated. So this is why, as ladies, if we notice any discharge, any abnormal discharge, any smelly or colorful discharge, any itching or whatsoever, we should go see a doctor and have ourselves tested so that we prevent any complications that can actually come out from these diseases like PID. PID can result as a result of gonorrhea or syphilis that you might have due to an unprotected sex, and if it persists for a long time, it can actually cause a lot of damages. It can actually prevent you from having a child, or it can actually block your tube. It can actually cause a lot of complications, ladies. So in general, if we ladies notice any changes in our body that we've not been seeing, any changes in our menstrual cycle, any irregular menstruation, we should go see a doctor so that we get ourselves tested and make sure that we are okay.
My eye makeup, I'm going in with my light blue eyeshadow. I'm going to use a dark blue eyeshadow at the outer part of my eyelids to give it a smoky look and then blend. Next, I'll use a red eyeshadow at the space between my lashes and my eyelids. I'll be going in with a light golden eyeshadow just below my lashes to make it come to life, and then use a light yellow eyeshadow to go in at the inner corners of my eyelids, and then finish up the eye makeup with my mascara and eyeliner.
And so ladies, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you learned something from this video and you find this video helpful. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment and subscribe so that you get notified whenever I post new videos. See you in my next video, ladies, and thanks for watching. Bye.